We were talking to Latinos who are also frustrated about the border. What they wanted is, control of the border. They don't want to see the chaos of the border.
How does that impact your vision of the American dream?
Yeah.
Well, number one is believing in the American dream.
And a panic. You tell people to stay fraught and like this.
Welcome back to All-Star Buzz. Thank you for joining us, and let's begin. This might be one of the most embarrassing moments I've ever seen on The View, and that's saying something. The ladies on the panel had their entire worldview absolutely destroyed right to their faces. And guess what? It wasn't a Republican who did it. Nope, it was a Democrat senator. That's right, a Democrat.
Let's break it down. The View loves to push the narrative that America is evil, racist, and oppressive. Well, this senator shut that down fast. They claim open borders are good and illegal immigration isn't a problem. Boom. He destroyed that, too. They praise Biden's economy like it's the best thing since sliced bread. Nope, he wrecked that argument as well. And when they tried to spin the election as being about sexism and racism instead of the economy, he didn't just disagree, he obliterated it.
But here's the best part. Watch how they try to bait him into playing the victim.
How does that impact your vision of the American dream?
Yeah.
Well, number one is believing in the American dream. And, when you're growing up poor and you don't have much of anything, the biggest currency you need is hope. And that's the one thing I had and my family had, and it was instilled, from my mom and from the rest of my big Latino family, which is like, you can do this, right? If you keep your nose clean, work hard, you're going to accomplish this. And every day it was hard. It was hard working those after-school jobs. And I was lucky to have teachers and family that were also very supportive, but it was all worth it. And I thought about it back in the day at the age of 14, 15, that if I work hard, I'm gonna succeed. And if I succeed, my family will succeed. And that was like the thing that drove me every day.
They ask about his upbringing, how he's the child of immigrants and grew up on the south side of Chicago. But instead of playing along, his answer is pure patriotism. It's a mic drop moment. And that's exactly what The View and Democrats hate the most: minorities who refuse to play the victim. The View has been on this losing streak lately, inviting minority men onto their panel, expecting them to nod along with their radical ideology. But it's backfiring. Big time. It didn't work with Stephen A. Smith. It didn't work with Charlemagne. It didn't work with Mayor Eric Adams. And now, it's not working with Senator Ruben Gallego either. It's almost like people are sick of identity politics. I mean, when someone like Sonny Hostin hears his story, how he talked about growing up poor, having nothing, and needing hope, how can she not look in the mirror and admit her worldview is completely wrong? It's mind-blowing. You're out here trying to teach the poorest, most downtrodden people that they're victims, that there's no hope, that they're systemically oppressed, that there's a boot on their neck no matter what they do. But guess what? That narrative just got shut down.
You're the son, as we've mentioned, of Colombian and Mexican immigrants. You served in the armed forces after attending Harvard University to give back to this country. And you've indicated that the Biden administration wasn't meeting the needs of border states. And this weekend, Trump laid out his mass deportation plan on Meet the Press. Do you think Trump will be able to do what he says he's going to do? And what do you think really needs to be done to address the issue at the border?
So from my experience and talking to people in Arizona, the only swing border state, and talking to our border mayors and also talking to, border sheriffs, police, nonprofits, everything else, what they wanted is, control of the border. They don't want to see the chaos of the border. We have a broken immigration system. And I think recognizing that, Matt.
Sonny Hostin asked Senator Gallego a question, thinking she'd get the answer she wanted because he's Hispanic and from Arizona. But instead, she got her world rocked when he hit her with the uncomfortable truth. Hispanics are real people too, and they don't like illegal immigration. Watch this. Sonny Hostin, let me say this loud and clear. I never want you to speak on behalf of Black people again. I never want you to speak on behalf of Hispanic people again. And honestly, I don't want you speaking for anyone with a brain ever again. You're clearly not a good spokesperson for any of these groups. Remember when Alyssa brought up that county in Texas that's 92% Hispanic but voted 75% for Trump? And what was Sonny's knee-jerk reaction? Sexism, racism. But Alyssa shut her down real quick. No, they're on the border. They see what's happening. It's hilarious how The View keeps inviting guests, only to have their arguments destroyed on live TV. It's like they're setting themselves up for failure. But let's keep going. Senator Gallego tells the ladies of The View that voters are straight up telling him Biden's economy isn't working for them. People are struggling, and it's leaving the panel in total disbelief. Why? Because they're all elitists who are completely out of touch with reality. Watch this.
One of the things that I saw that was probably the hardest thing to hear was people saying and feeling like, I'm working so hard and I don't think I'm gonna make it. And then the worst thing to hear after that is, I don't think my kids are actually gonna be better off than I. And for us that are parents, and I'm lucky to have 2 kids, that's the worst thing, because we're willing to sacrifice whatever we can for our children, right? And we'll take the personal hits. My mom took the personal hits, working the hard jobs, having to sacrifice a lot, but she knew that her kids would be better off in the future. And when you're hearing it on the campaign trail, they just don't think it's gonna happen. That's when you know that there's something really wrong in what's happening right now.
It's almost like the ladies on The View think people are just making this stuff up, that they're lying about not being able to afford groceries, about their paychecks not keeping up with inflation, about working harder than ever and still falling behind. Seriously, do they even live in the same world as the rest of us? When Democrats try to defend Joe Biden's economy, it's almost laughable. I could dive into the nitty-gritty details with them, but honestly, they'd lose their minds. And here's the thing, you don't even need to get into the weeds to win this argument. The numbers speak for themselves. 70% of people say the economy is a huge problem. End of story. It's a problem, and nothing else matters. Here's the kicker. This kind of frustration wasn't echoing across the country during Trump's administration. Period. I don't need to throw charts and graphs at you. This is the lived reality for most Americans. They're feeling it every single day. Now, watch as Ruben Gallego drops one last truth bomb on The View. He tells them straight up, no, the election wasn't about racism or sexism. It was about the economy and the border. That's it. Watch this.
We talk about Latino males. The reason I was able to kind of understand what's happening there was because, growing up Latino and working those work sites and working overtime just to help out my family, I understood the frustration I was hearing out in the community. And we were focused right away on the cost of everything, groceries, rent. But even, being out there and talking to not just my Republican friends, we were talking to Latinos who are also frustrated about the border. And we started talking about how, something's going on at the border that's different from what people have experienced in the past, and we need to actually focus on this and talk about solutions.
Yes, people are tired of working their hearts out and still not getting ahead. They want change. They want to be rewarded for their hard work. And honestly, that's how it should be in America. But here's what they don't care about. Identity politics, political correctness, or uprooting biology because someone decided it makes you a better person to believe boys can become girls. They also don't care about being labeled uncompassionate for pointing out the obvious. 10 million illegal immigrants flooding into the country, supported by taxpayer dollars, while those same taxpayers are struggling to make ends meet. That's not okay. And that's the difference between real people and these elitist Democrats. Democrats are so caught up in their social circles and public image that they'll say anything to keep their brand deals and stay politically correct. They're more worried about triggering the wrong people than actually addressing the issues hurting everyday Americans. It's pathetic. Democrats can afford to virtue signal all day long, but the average American? They can't. And that's the part these elitists just don't get.
We've been talking about this issue of pardoning people on the January 6th committee, even though they did not commit any crimes. I think that that's important. I think that they should have that in their safe deposit box just in case, because he's looking at Adam Schiff, who participated in impeachments. He's looking at Liz Cheney. He's looking at Adam Kinzinger. And I can't imagine that he won't try to weaponize the Justice Department. When this man tells you what he's thinking out loud, you should believe him.
You're out here screaming at people to care about democracy, and they're looking around like, bro, I live in a democracy. but can you help me lower my bills first? Now, let's dive into some clips from the same episode where they're discussing Trump's interview with NBC. Spoiler alert, he absolutely destroyed the reporter. But before we get to that, listen to Sunny Hostin say something truly wild. She actually believes Biden's preemptive pardons for Liz Cheney, Fauci, and everyone tied to his administration are a good thing. Wait, what? So nobody can even ask questions or look into anything Biden or his team might have done wrong? That's her argument? But let's not forget, when Trump was screaming about this exact same thing, the ladies of The View brushed him off, called him a madman, and said he had no respect for the rule of law. Now, because Biden's pardoning his son and his allies, suddenly it's okay to yell about selective prosecution and weaponizing the justice system. Funny how that works, huh? And if you want to see just how far the Democrats have shifted from their so-called core ideals, listen to what Ana Navarro has to say. This is the kind of stuff that's pushing people to the right in this election. Watch this.
First of all, thank God for Liz Cheney. Yesterday, she put out a very strong statement condemning what Donald Trump had said. And I kind of felt like, like that song. It's like our nation turns its lonely eyes to you, because she's not trekking to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring. She's not going into, deep hiding and in silence. She's not changing her tune all of a sudden. She's sticking by her guns. She is a principled person with a backbone and courage. And if he goes after her, she's going to fight back. And it is going to be our job to protect her, to support her, to donate to a legal fund, to make sure that there are lawyers ready to defend her, because it costs a lot of money, because it is very stressful and very drainful, even if there is no crime.
Yeah.
Being investigated by the federal government is a big deal.
Yes, you heard that right. A supposed Democrat just said, "Thank God for Liz Cheney." When was the last time you heard a Democrat say, "Thank God for a Cheney"? Never. It's proof of how much the party has changed, and not for the better. Let's not forget, this isn't just about Liz Cheney or the Democrats' sudden love for warmongers. This whole mess on The View exposes a much bigger issue: the growing divide between the elites and everyday Americans. The ladies on the panel are so out of touch with reality that it's almost painful to watch. They're sitting there, sipping their lattes, while the rest of the country is struggling to pay their bills and put food on the table.
Take Ana Navarro, for example. She's out here telling people they can't enjoy Christmas because they need to be in a constant state of panic. Seriously? Who does that? Meanwhile, Whoopi Goldberg is rolling her eyes and telling her to shut up. It's like watching a reality show where everyone's fighting, but instead of being entertaining, it's just sad.
But if you're an illegal immigrant in this country, you're not going to be not in a panic. If you are a woman working for the Department of Defense, you have a right to be in a panic.
You tell people to stay fraught and like this.
I'm telling people to prepare, Whoopi. I'm telling people
to prepare. They are prepared.
So that means that they can't be relaxing and enjoying Christmas.
No, it doesn't mean that.
When winter is coming.
No, it does. You know what? I'm sorry.
I mean, I disagree.
Winter is here.
Right.
Winter's been with us, and my point is we can lay down and do nothing for the next 15 days and then be freaking out for the next 4 or 2 years.
To you is we are in a privileged position that a lot of people who are going to be under his attack
who is going through the same thing.
I'm on his enemies list, and I'm not panicking.
Yeah.
Like, we just have to live.
We have to figure out what we're panicking
for. America.
And let's talk about Liz Cheney for a second. The fact that Ana Navarro is praising her says everything you need to know about how far the Democrat Party has fallen. Liz Cheney is an establishment Republican who's been anti-Trump from day one. She doesn't stand for traditional Democrat values. She stands for maintaining the status quo. But because she hates Trump, suddenly she's a hero to the left. It's ridiculous. Here's the thing. The establishment on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, hates Trump because he threatened their power. They've been running Washington, D.C. for decades, lining their pockets while the rest of us foot the bill. Trump came in and said, "Enough is enough." And that scared them. That's why they've been working together to take him down. It's not about what's best for the country. It's about what's best for them. Now, back to The View. The tension between the hosts is palpable. You can see it in their body language, hear it in their voices. This isn't just a disagreement. It's a full-blown feud. And honestly, it's hard to see how they'll recover from this. These women have been working together for years, but this fight feels like the breaking point. But here's the real kicker. The American people are tired of this nonsense. They're tired of being told what to think, what to say, and how to feel. They're tired of the constant virtue signaling and political correctness. They just want to live their lives, take care of their families, and have a government that works for them, not against them. And that's why shows like The View are losing credibility. They're so focused on pushing their agenda that they've completely lost touch with their audience. People don't want to hear about how they should be panicking or how they need to care about issues that don't affect their daily lives. They want solutions to real problems, like inflation, the border crisis, and the economy. So, what's next for The View? Will they finally wake up and realize how out of touch they are? Or will they continue to spiral into irrelevance? One thing's for sure, this fight has exposed the cracks in the foundation, and there's no going back. These people, they're the warmongers. The Democrat Party is loving the warmongers now because that's who they've become. That used to be the Republican Party's thing. And why does Ana Navarro suddenly love Liz Cheney so much? Is it because Liz Cheney hates Trump, or because she supported Kamala Harris? Let's be real. Liz Cheney doesn't stand for any traditional Democrat values. She's an establishment Republican through and through. This just proves how the establishment on both sides, the right and the left, came together to fight Trump. Why? Because he was going to shake up Washington, D.C. They wanted to keep their power, their control, and their tradition of screwing over the American taxpayer to line their own pockets. It's disgusting. The show ends with them screaming at each other. Shocker, right? Their plan to bring on a minority guest and get them to agree with their radical ideology completely backfired. But here's the kicker. Ana Navarro starts freaking out, telling everyone they need to be in a panic. She says they can't even enjoy Christmas because they need to be worried. Then Whoopi gets annoyed and starts going off on Anna, telling her to shut up. Alyssa jumps in on Whoopi's side, and the two of them start tag-teaming Anna. It's pure chaos. So, what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think any of them will change their worldview after getting it destroyed right in front of their faces? Probably not, right? If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. Catch you in the next one!